Hello there. My name is Tyler Ferraro, and I'm here with.
Taylor?
Ooh, Taylor. What's your affiliation with Flickr?
Oh, you just happen to be my boyfriend.
Oh, okay. So basically, what you're saying is I'm just using you for the purposes of this tutorial. Yes.
Precisely.
Okay, fantastic. Do you have any experience in animation?
None whatsoever.
None whatsoever. So you're completely new. You don't know what any of this is. So the reason I have Taylor here is because she has no experience. So this is obviously for very beginners. So hopefully, she's going to be asking me questions that I can then answer. And these questions might be some questions that you all have that are watching. So Taylor, it's up to you to make sure that this video is good or not.
Ooh.
Pressure is
on.
Pressure is on. Okay, so first off, let's just explain. This is Blender. This is what Blender looks like. It's a completely free software. It's open source, and it's a fantastic way to get started doing animation and that kind of stuff. I've used Blender for years, and at this point, if I edit cool, I might be putting pictures of what I've done in Blender over the voice right now for reference.
Yeah.
But let's just kind of talk about what Blender looks like. So right here, we have the main screen. This is where you're going to do all your modeling.
Okay.
So you can click, drag, and all this kind of stuff. And we'll talk about how to change sizes and stuff. That I'm just showing the main user interface. If you press T, you get object tools pop up over here. And if you press N, you get transform and all kinds of other stuff over here. We won't really be going too much into detail on this kind of stuff. I honestly never even really use any of this.
Okay.
So I always just press N, leave it be. And I always have T open just because I do.
It's handy.
It's a handy dandy little thing, yes. And what's really nice about Blender is that you can click and drag and resize everything.
Ooh.
This is the timeline down here. We'll get into this in a later part. This is for animation. But this is the timeline down here, so you can change everything. You can even change all this stuff and whatnot. And what you'll see is in the top corner of each box are these buttons right here and here. And what that does is it allows you to change what's in these boxes. So in this box, I can put, actually I'll do it here. I can put video sequence editor. And then you can add images and stuff. I can put the timeline that's here. I can put it here if I want. Usually it's pretty good to keep this as the outlier. So when I make new objects, let's see if I make a new cube here. Now it pops up here as well, and I can see all the attributions with that. And if I delete that cube, it's gone from there as well. So it's pretty good to kind of leave it as that.
That's pretty nifty.
Pretty nifty, yes. And a lot of these settings, a lot of this looks like it's so in your face and there's so much to do. Honestly, I haven't used 75% of these buttons,
Okay.
and you won't either. So it's okay to be overwhelmed with everything. So yes. So right off the bat, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to press A to select all. And so now everything is selected, and you'll notice these two here, the camera and the cube, have orange, and the light is a yellow outline. I can change that. So now the camera, whatever the last thing you clicked is, will be yellow, and everything else in sequence will be orange.
I see.
And in order to click multiple things, you just right-click on the object and then press Shift, and you select more things. Or you could just press A in this instance.
So what does it mean if it's yellow or orange?
It just means that it's a selected thing.
Okay.
That's just differentiating the different colors.
Okay. Cool.
Good question. So just for this instance, I'm going to just press X. Press A to select all, then press X to delete, and then they're all deleted, just so we have a clean surface here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add in the monkey. So here we have a little monkey, and
Well, isn't he cute?
he's a cutie. He's a cutie patootie. I think his name is Suzanne. I think
Aw.
Lazy Suzanne or something like that. I don't know.
Susie.
Susie something. Let's call him Susie. Let's call him Susie.
Oh,
Why not?
Suzanne, it is.
Oh, see, it is
You're
a Suzanne
right.
right here.
Look
Down
at
the bottom.
you.
Look at that. I know. So the reason I chose a monkey is that it's easy to tell the different sides of the monkey. So one thing that you're going to want to learn how to do is change your views. I can get straight on manually here or straight on the side kind of manually here, but sometimes you want to be very precise.
Yes.
So if you have a numpad, it cannot be the numbers horizontally on the top of a keyboard. It has to be an actual numpad.
Oh.
So on my laptop I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
I don't have that on my MacBook.
You don't have that on your MacBook. Well, you
Wah,
can't.
wah, wah.
You might not be able to use it. So 1 will give you a straight on view, 3 will give you a side view, and 7 gives you a top view. And then you can press, you can press 8 and you kind of rotate around. You can press 3 and then 6 and rotate around like that. So that's pretty handy. And then another very important thing is what perspective you're in. So right now I'm in user perspective, but you can change that to orthographic. And I typically use orthographic view because if you'll see, if I'm in orthographic view and I press 1 to go to front view, I still get the grid behind me, behind the whatever I'm editing on. However, if I'm in perspective and I press 1, I don't get that grid behind me. So I like using, see the difference there?
Oh, yeah.
So I like using orthographic. It's a little bit, perspective is more like realistic in the view, but to me it's a little bit harder to edit and model. So I prefer orthographic. So I'm always in orthographic view. It's not really going to change too much in your final render, so you don't have to worry about that.
Okay.
Now one thing, so that's different camera views. One thing about Susan here is it looks a little rough, as you can see. By the way, you rotate around clicking like this, rotate around clicking the middle mouse wheel, and then you can zoom in and out by scrolling the middle mouse wheel. And then obviously I said you can right click to select an object. And
Or if you have a mouse pad.
yeah, if you have a mouse pad, you are out of luck.
Okay.
You need a mouse.
Alrighty.
You can use a
Note
mouse
taken.
pad. You can use a mouse pad if you want to never get anything done. So I would recommend using a mouse.
Sounds good.
Yes. But as you notice, Susan here is a little bit rough around the edges. So using T, you can bring up the object tools, press smooth. Actually, make sure it's selected, press smooth. And now it's a little bit
Wow.
smoother. That's all I did was just press a button. So smooth, flat, smooth, flat. Very, very simple. So now I'm going to just delete that. I'm going to bring in a cube just so I can kind of show basic editing and that kind of stuff. So what every object will have is it'll have this orange thing right here and the 3 little arrows pointing out of it. So red arrow is for the x-axis, green arrow is for moving along the y-axis, and then Z is moving it along or blue is moving it along the z-axis. So in math, we have an x and a y-axis. There's a third as well, and that's Z. That gives it the 3D effect.
Okay.
So that's what Z kind of does. And X and Y is that way, right?
Yes.
So we could press S here. So S, and we see this little arrow, these 2 little arrows pop up. Just click and drag and make it bigger or smaller. We can press G and we can freely move it. I don't really like freely moving it. I always like moving it along an axis. Just it keeps it better. So you can press G and then X, and it'll lock it to moving it along an axis. You can also just click the arrow and do it like that. So G, Z does the same thing, and G, Y does the same kind of thing. So let's say you're sizing something down and you are in the middle of sizing it or whatever, and you decide you don't want to do it anymore. You can just press the right click and it pops back to its regular thing.
The original size?
The original shape, and you don't have to worry about it. So if you are changing the size and you want to keep it that size, you press the left click, and it'll bring it down to that. And then what's really cool is if you press, I'll make this a little bit bigger so it's easier to see. If you press tab, you go into edit mode. Edit mode is where magic gets done. Right now this is object mode. Now you're in edit mode. And you can tell when you're in edit mode because you can see all the vertices, these little black dots on all the corners. That shows you all the vertices. There's very little black dots here on the corners. When you're in object mode, you don't see those dots. But now everything is outlined in black and has little dots on the corners for the vertices. So right now, I can only select vertices. And I can select each individual vertice and change it. just like I would any other object, right?
Mhm.
And I can G, X, and then on X. So I'm going to Control Z lets you undo, so I'm just going to go back to the original thing here. You can also change, if you come down here to the bottom, next to global, you can change if you edit by vertices, edges, or even faces. So you can bring out the faces,
Oh.
because every object has vertices, edges, and faces.
Yeah.
So that's pretty nice. And you can, the easiest way to deselect something is to just press A, because A is select everything or deselect everything.
Mhm.
So if I'm selected by one thing, I just press A and it automatically deselects it.
Okay.
Very simple. And so if I'm in object mode, and let's say I have this face here, and I want to make, I want to extrude this face out. I could just do this, but I don't want the rest of like these faces to extrude with it,
Yeah.
right? So if you press E, and then I'll press X, I can extrude out like that,
Oh.
and then I can size it down again,
Well,
and
that's
then
cool.
E, and let's do X, extrudes it out again.
So all you do is press E.
Yeah, E is to extrude, and you're going to use extrude a lot. Extrude is the most frequently used tool, really, in animation and 3D modeling. Like all this is extruding.
So you don't
Extrude.
even have to press X, Y.
No,
or
well, when
Z.
you
can just press the arrows.
yeah, you can
click on
press
the
the
arrows.
you can click on the arrows. If
And
I'm
drag it that way.
yeah, every time you extrude, you get a local axis to extrude from automatically. I can click E to extrude and then X, and it'll extrude along the X-axis. How you got to be careful though, because if I extrude along the Y-axis, for example, it gets this weird thing because the Y-axis is perpendicular to that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of weird, and you got to be careful of that.
What happened to our graph?
Oh, I am. What graph? Oh, the table graph here.
Yeah, it doesn't extend with.
It does not extend. No, this is all you get. Yeah, but what's nice is you can make something super big and just make it. Press S to reduce the size down if
Okay.
you need to. The graph is pretty simple, or it's nifty, but once you start making something really big, you'll find that you don't really need to use it.
Okay.
So I just press Control Z to pretty much undo everything, and I'm going to go back to object mode. And I forgot one other thing. If you press R, you rotate the object. So you can press RZ to rotate along the Z, RY along the Y, and RX along the X-axis. So then if I extrude this object, I can then press R and Z, and it'll give it a little bit of rotation here, and then you can extrude it again. I'll do a little bit more rotation, extrude.
So that's how you make it curvy.
That's how you give it the curves. Everybody loves little curves. Yeah, I made it like a little slide or something, I guess.
Yeah.
A very dangerous slide. So that's basic modeling in a nutshell. That's all you really need to know to really kind of get started. In the next part, we're going to go into more advanced modeling,
Ooh.
as well as materials, which are here, and we'll kind of go into that in the next part. So
I'm excited.
I would recommend getting Blender, just messing around with it a little bit, and when you come back next time, we'll learn a little bit more.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Can't wait.
Can't wait. All right. Well, thanks for watching, and see you next time.